Good morning, everyone. I'm Akram Khan from CERT India. With me, I have Seema, my colleague, and I'm going to talk about our experience as a CNA. And I'll try and give some perspective from a national CERT point of view. So what we have done is we have divided this presentation into three sections. First one, we will talk about us, CERT-In, specifically our RVD program and the CV Numbering Authority program, which we have operationalized since 2021. In the second, we'll try and share some of our experiences, some of the strange things which we have seen. And something tells me that these are not going to be new to you guys. And we are all in the same ecosystem, so the experiences are kind of same. Okay, a little bit about CERT-In. CERT-In is Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. It is the CERT with the national responsibility. We were established in 2004, so we are old in that sense. We are fully funded by the government. In 2008, there was an amendment in the Indian information technology laws, which kind of gave us certain mandate, and which is kind of listed there. You can read it, and it is more towards incident response, incident handling, and collection and analysis of cybersecurity related information, issue of guidelines, vulnerability notes, and the likes. As any CERT would have it, we do for three kind of distinct functions: reactive, proactive, and security quality management services. Under reactive services, we do 24/7 IR, incident response. We have a 24/7 help desk manned by at least 2 analysts at the late hours. We do incident analysis. We do support LEAs, law enforcement agencies, in doing cyber forensics and malware analysis. If they require so. We do vulnerability coordination, obviously. From proactive services point of view, we do issue security alerts and advisories through our website. Very standard, pretty standard stuff. We do cybersecurity capacity building exercises. We offer trainings, workshops. We conduct a lot of workshops and we offer these services all for free to the constituency and the likes. We have a citizen-centric initiative known as Botnet Cleaning Center. One can go to our website and find more about it. It's a good initiative. It's basically citizen-centric, and wherein we basically try and reach out to the end consumers and inform them about the possible botnet and malware infections they may have in their systems or mobiles. Under the security quality management services, we do promote security standards and best practices. We do come up with the certain guidelines which we expect especially the government entities to adopt, and the industry if possible. We do impanel security auditors for conducting cybersecurity audits, especially for the government and public sector infrastructure. So basically under this, we have a 4-step rigorous process which each auditor has to go through, and they have to basically meet the minimum threshold in order to be called impaneled by CERT-In. And then we do some sort of cybersecurity exercises. There are different levels of exercises which we do, both at the domestic level as well as international level. As far as our affiliations goes, we are a full member of FIRST. We are a full member of AP CERT. I think Tomo yesterday talked about. I think he introduced the AP CERT thing, which is the Asia Pacific Region's Computer Emergency Response Team Forum. We are also accredited member of TF CERT, which is the Trusted Introducer CCERT Forum. We are also a member of Charter of Trust. Okay, so moving on to the vulnerability coordination efforts which we do at CERT-In. So we basically bucketize vulnerabilities into 2 categories. So we do receive all sort of reports. Some require actions only from the infrastructure owners, like a vulnerability in a government website. Pretty standard stuff. And the second type, the vulnerabilities in the product and the kind of things which we deal in, like the vulnerabilities which require CV IDs to be assigned. We deal in both. We welcome both kind of reports, and we do coordinate both kind of issues. A little bit about CV numbering authority. We became a CV numbering authority in October 2021. We are pretty new in this area. And thank you, CV program, for making us a CNA. Okay, so a little bit about our motivation of becoming a CNA. So we since 2014, the India is trying to become a product-centric country. We have been known for being a service-based industry, wherein the Indian talent, is offering services to the various multinational countries, including the United States. We envisage that we should become a product-oriented country, and that's where the Make in India initiative of our government came into realization. So we are now kind of after, in the period of 10 years, we are kind of realizing the fruits of our approach. And we are kind of third in the startup ecosystem in the world. We are the top three. We have thousands of startups, thriving ecosystem startups who are continuously into innovation and new product development and the likes. Okay, so what we wanted to do is, like, when we are becoming a product-oriented economy, so we should also look at the maturity of the products, right? So we should do something about, improving the security profile of the products which are coming out of the Make in India. So we wanted to do that, and that's one of the prime motivation for us of becoming the CNA. The other objective was kind of an obvious one, to promote good faith security research in the country and to build a collaborative CVD ecosystem. Now, in order to enable all that, so we have been doing vulnerability coordination since our inception. That's kind of a part and parcel thing for any CERT to do. But being a CNA, we thought of basically drafting a well-written CVD policy. We call that a responsible vulnerability disclosure and coordination policy. And we do realize the importance of a clearly worded and a detailed security policy to be in place. Okay, so the main objective of the policy was to enable responsible vulnerability research. And it allows us to collaborate with the researchers, cybersecurity organizations, academic institutions, vendors, OEMs, and international CERTs and CNAs. It basically defines our expectations from the reporters and from the vendors, and also defines what they should expect from us. We have clearly defined some of the timelines, not fixed ones, some loose ones, and the kind of recognition or the appreciation a reporter should expect from us. Moving on to the dual role of a national CERT. So we are a national CERT and we are also a CNA. So it comes with some good things and some not so good things. I would not call them bad things, but not so good things. Some kind of, we can call them challenges, but okay. So good thing. Coordination is already in our DNA, right? Being a CERT, we do incident coordination all the time, and vulnerability coordination is also a kind of coordination which we do, which we should be doing. As a CERT, as I have already talked about the kind of affiliations we have had, we have a lot of pre-built trust relationships which we can use, which we can utilize while doing the vulnerability coordination. That's a good thing to do. Okay, so as a national CERT, we have a certain kind of trust within the constituency. We have already established that kind of trust. And as I mentioned, we also have certain legal authorities, which comes in handy in cases when obviously they need to be utilized judiciously. They should not be abused, and it's a must. Okay, so as a result, what we can do is we can basically urge patients from all the involved parties. We can actually ask the researcher to hold on to the information for some time, and we can also ask the vendor to basically expedite if required. And the legal authority also helps us in dealing with the unresponsive OEMs and vendors at times. Also, so as Tomo from JP CERT was mentioning that the maturity level in the Asia Pacific region is lower as what we see in the Europe and the United States. And many of the organizations, many of the vendors do not have a proper security program in place. And so, they are kind of not having, they also don't have a proper place where they can basically discuss about their security issues. This is where the national cert's own portal can come in handy, wherein we can actually publish security issues for them. And one of the main and key point I want to make here is that being a national cert, we can also promote CVD or the CVD in the domestic playing field. Now, coming on to the not so good things, certs are basically third-party CNAs, right? So they do not control the code directly. So they are kind of a neutral body who is kind of trying to coordinate between vendor and the researcher. And the reporters are also sometimes they are influenced by the geographical location, like the Indian researchers would naturally will be reporting to Indian cert. And as a result of which we have to deal with a lot of out of scope vulnerability report because as you might have noticed, our scope was to assign CVE numbers to product designed, developed, and manufactured in India. That doesn't mean that researcher will be actively looking only for those issues. So they are also looking for issues in the which may fall in the other CNS scope. So that is something which we encounter more often. So this is in contrast with the vendor CNAs, which have a very fixed scope. Now, as a result of this, we also face a challenge as if like CV assignment is not straightforward. Like we do not have the necessary kind of knowledge when the vulnerability is reported to us as to whether it is actually a vulnerability or not, and what component or what particular piece of code is actually affected in this case. So we normally have to depend on the vendor to get all that information for us. Many situations we have kind of seen that the vendors are apprehensive of accepting the vulnerabilities, and one of the reason for it is being for the CERT being a legal authority within the country, that they fear that okay some action could be taken against them. And then one of the obvious thing, like we have to deal with these situations concerning unmitigated vulnerabilities. Moving on, let's discuss about the interesting experiences which we have had. And this is, I'm sure, not going to come as a surprise to all of you guys, but there are some hidden things which I want to discuss in detail. First and foremost, vendor hesitancy. Okay, so as I had mentioned, CERT-In is a federal agency, and we are equipped with the legal powers to issue directions and initiate legal actions if required. So as a result of this, what happens is whenever we reach out to the vendor, when a reporter reports a vulnerability to us, and when we reach out to the vendor for the first time, the vendor, the vendor mistakes our simple email as a legal notice, like as if he is being put on trial or something, and they end up engaging their legal team straight away. So that's the kind of thing which we have faced in one or two cases, which is kind of frustrating to see. So moving on, the second interesting thing which we have seen is kind of a unique, like, which is kind of an obvious thing. Like if you publish about a weakness in a product, the vendor thinks like it is going to have it is going to cause some sort of reputational damage to them. And we have seen interesting requests coming back to us. And this we have seen coming from the smaller OEMs, not so well-known OEMs. As I said, India is a booming startup market, and many of the OEMs are not that big and mature. One of the fear they have is like, because CERT-In is a national body and we publish about the vulnerabilities a lot. And the OEMs have come back to us saying that if, what happens is like my competitor takes a screenshot of your website and goes to my customer and shows that your product is that particular product is vulnerable. Don't use that. So that's the kind of thing which we are kind of dealing with. So we have to basically tell them, like, publishing about vulnerability and being transparent about vulnerability is actually exactly the other way around. And moving on, pretty standard stuff. Some attempt to play down that vulnerability is actually not that serious. Like standard stuff, we have been discussing this since past 2 days. Nothing new in this. And some delay their responses, some become unresponsive. This is where our legal power comes into play. So we have the directions, legal powers to issue directions and seek the responses from them. So that's what sometimes as a last resort, we have to resort to that. Another experience which we have had is some vendors don't have appropriate security programs. Standard thing, they have not thought about it. They don't have to deal, they rarely deal with the vulnerabilities, or they don't have a budget for it, or maybe in some cases the funding has died. This we have seen coming from the OEMs, which basically support exclusive set of entities like the hospital PAC systems or some CCTV vendors. So that's the kind of thing which we have seen. And as a result, we have to do a lot of convincing and explaining to them that, okay, you have to do this, you have to fix this, and then only things will be better. We have seen cases of incomplete remediation also, wherein the root cause is not fixed or properly, and there are improper workarounds, or they have tried to fix it not in a proper way, which can be easily bypassed, and it basically wastes a lot of time and energy because we have to do a lot of back and forth with the vendor and the researcher. Another common problem which we have seen is the no availability of point of contact, and like not many of them have security programs. No surprise there. But most of them publish their sales and customer contacts, and we have had some interesting responses coming back to us. Like we wrote to one of the customer care email, and they started asking us for the serial number of the product. Like, okay, you first give us the serial number of the product, then only we are going to support. But it works. It mostly works. Many times the researcher report to CERT-In. This was discussed in the previous session also, that sometimes researcher do try to contact the actual OEM, but they were not able to do so. So they come back and ask CERT to do the coordination for them. Now, this is where the CERT's existing network, our stature comes into play, and we kind of find a way to actually do it for them. And we are sometimes actually required to even go to the extent of writing physical letters or snail mails, as you call them. We have also come across cases where the researcher is impatient about making the issue public. Some reporters give their own deadlines. Some give very, very unrealistic deadlines, like within 2 days, if it is not fixed, we'll publish. So we have to basically manage that particular expectation there. We have to basically convince them to basically hold on to the information for a little longer till the vulnerability is getting remediated. Another issue which we have seen is the expectation of some monetary reward. Although our policy is very clear on that we are not in a position to reward them. However, we can mention their name, and basically we can give recognition in any other form, like giving an appreciation letter or something. But vendor can basically give monetary reward if they want to, and our role is limited in that. Those cases would be limited to just introducing both of them. Some of the other issues, I think this one I have already touched upon. Like, we do not have the direct kind of insight into the actual product. But there are instances wherein, although there are very few, wherein we have seen white labeling of the product, like the product is labeled as brand A, but actually inside it is some other product, it is borrowed from some other company and the likes. So CV assignment becomes a little bit more complex in those kind of scenarios. We have also come across situations wherein the product was developed under a contract, and that contract is no longer valid, or it is expired, or contract lacks the kind of maintenance which should have been there. So it becomes challenging to basically fix the code in those kind of scenarios. So these were the kind of issues which we have seen. I think only 5 minutes are left, so I'll just conclude my talk. Okay, so one of the key thing which we are kind of dealing with is we are trying to basically meet our constituency's expectations, because CERT-In is now CERT-In is the trusted agency within the Indian cyberspace, and government, public, private sector, and individuals refer to CERT-In for their for our services and the guidance, and we must fulfill their high expectations. Now, having a good CVD policy is very, very important, which we have realized of late, and because that has helped and that has saved us in many of the situations. But still, despite doing all this, we do expect some disagreements, and we have come across some good some criticism also, and we do appreciate the feedback, and we kind of the feedback kind of allows us to improve. Some of the disagreements which we have seen is like in our policy, we have mentioned a specific timeline, and some feel that it's very long. It is not long. If you look at the data and if you look at the kind of issues, taking months and months to resolve, I think the timeline is justified, but nonetheless. Uh, some have come back to us saying that your policy lacked the safe harbor provision. Obviously, I want to point out that CERT-In is not a lawmaking agency. We do not have the power to amend the law or make the laws. We have to still abide by the laws, whatever laws are there. Laws of the land must be followed. So we do not have the power to basically amend the law, and it's a kind of thing which we cannot do. We have also come across significant media interest also. It may be surprising to know that even when CERT-In publishes about a Google Chrome vulnerability, which was kind of published by the Google a day before, it becomes a national news. So we are under constant media attention and the likes, so which is a good thing in a way. Now, just to wrap up, key takeaways, operating at both the CNA and national CERT has its advantages. The advantages, one of the key advantages, national CERT can raise awareness about the importance of CVD within the constituency. We can clarify doubts and apprehensions. We can help expedite dissemination of vulnerability information. We can manage everyone's expectation and save the negative publicity. We can also promote the CVE program amongst local vendors. That's the kind of thing which we are looking forward to do in the coming future. And ultimately, it will bring transparency in the vendor vulnerability disclosure, and it will ensure proper remediation of issues, and to say it will ultimately save everyone's time. And one thing we have come to realize, and the kind of a learning which we have had is like a typical vendor CNA. A typical vendor CNA has the kind of process of acknowledging the researchers or the reporters of the vulnerabilities. A third-party CNA has to basically manage everyone's expectation, and the kind of smaller OEMs which we are seeing in India, we also need to think of giving due credit to the vendors for their efforts as well. And this is something which we are kind of considering to do, that along with mentioning the researchers, along with giving credit to the researcher, also start giving credit to the vendors for their effort, which they have put into basically plug the vulnerability. So to basically save their interest. And also being a national serve, also being a national CERT, being a national CERT helps us in deal with the unresponsive and uncooperative local vendors because of the national stature and the kind of legal authorities which we possess. That's it from my side. Thank you. Thank you very much.